Hi there, I'm Dan Simon. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Vested, and I'm joined by my colleague Ishbeen Arora, co-founder of Vested. Ishbeen, good
Hi.
to talk to you.
Good morning.
We're going to be talking about coronavirus and communications. It's obviously been a crazy couple of weeks. Talk to me a little bit about the kinds of questions that you've been fielding over the last week or so.
Yeah, obviously it's going to vary depending on the size of the firm, but I do feel that most people are in the same boat, and everyone is really asking questions, starting with the BCP, to be honest, right? The business continuity plan. For some, they don't even have one in place, so it's, we need to have one, can you share one? And then if they do have one in place, it's revisiting the BCP. Does it have, does it cover things around the coronavirus? I think from there, other questions are around, industry conferences, events. What do we do? Or do we allow our employees and our staff to travel? Do we do in-person meetings in the office? And then finally, and most interestingly, I think one of the questions that's coming up quite a bit is, do we need to be proactive in our communications with clients if we have nothing to say, or if we're proceeding with business as usual? And I think that's a really, really important question that's come up because...
Well, let's talk about that, because I think some people feel like they don't have all the answers. They're watching to see what the CDC says. Or some other federal government agency is saying. They say, well, I'm not a health expert. What can we be saying? And I've certainly been fielding that kind of a question from clients. They don't want to be, they obviously don't want to under communicate, but they sort of don't want to be too far ahead of it either. And they say, well, I'm not a medical expert. So what do you say to clients who say, well, I don't have necessarily anything new to add?
Yeah, I think in a period of uncertainty, over communicating is vital. And I think it's really important that, clients manage expectations. So absolutely, they should not be claiming to be medical experts. I don't think that they should take it upon themselves to say everything's going to be okay. But it is important to let their clients know that they have a plan in place, and this is going to this is what's going to follow should X happen, and this is what we're planning on doing if Y should happen. And I think also clients are looking for support. They themselves are trying to navigate this, and so being supportive, showing that they're there for their clients and they can help navigate because they're going through the same thing. But again, building that trust, being confident, and reminding the clients that there is a plan in place so that there's that constant dialogue of communication happening.
Right. I think it's partly that silence, we assume that they know we're getting on with it, but they don't necessarily know that we're getting on with it. We were forthright, Vested was forthright with our BCP, sharing that with our clients, even before they were asking for it, because I think the point is, if you are silent, your clients won't assume that you have everything in place. Your clients will assume that you don't know what you're doing.
Exactly.
And let's talk about client communications and staff communications. How do you think about the constituency universe? The questions that I've been fielding are about, what do we say to clients? What do we say to staff? People don't think about, what do we say to our partners? What do we say to our vendors? How important is getting a holistic picture of your constituencies at this point?
It's extremely important. Again, I agree, and as clients should be. They should be focused on their clients first. They should be focused on their staff first. But I think too often firms forget about the other constituencies, as you've said. So whether that be partners, that be vendors, that be investors. I mean, all of these constituencies greatly impact their business, and especially post-coronavirus. So I think it's really important we're addressing all those different constituencies and thinking about how are they going to be impacted.
Yeah, I think one of the things clients could do at this point would be to sit down and just think, aside from our customers / clients and our staff, who do we need to have distinct communication for, and what are we going to say to those people?
And that can be an exercise of just sitting down and going through all of those different constituencies.
Final question, obviously it looks more likely that we're going to be moving to a kind of remote work situation, and we're going to be talking to people like Shindy from our team about how she manages remote workers. But just more broadly, communications I think is going to be especially important in a remote work kind of an environment. Not everyone, if it's easy to communicate, or easier when everyone is sort of sitting in the same room and you can say, can I get everyone's attention?
Right.
But for us, as for many companies, you know, it's all going to be distinct and distant.
Right.
So talk to me a little bit about how you think communications changes in a remote, kind of 100% remote work environment.
Yeah, it's such an important question, and I think this is an exercise that, you know, really sitting down and starting with, you know, are our staff well equipped to work from home, right? Does everyone have a laptop? Does everyone have a computer? Does everyone have access to the internet? And even simple things like, you know, video conferencing, or do they have the ability to, you know, Skype or make phone calls, especially, you know, globally if you're a global firm. So I think it starts with there and getting that right. And then thinking about, again, the theme here is over communicating, right? Whether that's weekly calls, daily check-ins with your team. I think in times like this and when it is a crisis, people tend to feel like they just need to bog down, and because they're at home, they need to just focus on getting the work done and getting through things. But that's why it's so important that at every level there is a check-in and that you're constantly over communicating, whether that's with the staff, with your clients, again, talking about those other constituencies. And then I think one of the most important things that gets overlooked is just, again, expectation setting. Can someone really work from home? You know, there's a lot of people have kids, for example, and we're hearing schools may get closed. So, you know, can that person, do they have the childcare that they need to really work from home? So I think having an honest conversation about whether someone has an elderly person at home or has children at home, so that we can set them up for success.
Yeah, I think that cadence of communication is so important. We take for granted, you know, when we are in, you know, office environments, that maybe we have a weekly check-in with the team, or maybe we have a bi-weekly check-in. But I think when you move to a remote, the potential for miscommunication becomes enormous. And so you really need to revisit what is the cadence of communication that we have internally, and do we need to change that? I know we're talking about moving to daily check-ins, and who joins what. So building out a hierarchy of information flow, I think, becomes especially important.
Exactly. And today, again, there's so many different ways that teams can be communicating, whether that's through GChat or Slack channels, or you know, email, or just picking up the phone. So there's no reason that we can't be in constant communication.
Got it. Well, thank you, Ishbeen. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Check out more of this content on our YouTube channel.